تست. لطفاً بفرمایید صندلیاتون رو بگیرید. Please come to your seats. We want to get started. We are about to start and you would like to be seated. We would like you to be seated when we start. So please, there are plenty of seats over there. Please, people in the back, people who are chit-chatting over there, can you please come and join us? Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to start and we would like you to be seated over here. Sunny, Hossein. Can I get those people over there to stop chit-chatting and come and sit over here, please? Can I ask those people over there to raise their hands and then come over here, please? Ahmad Reza John, thank you for helping us, yes. Hanif, Mr. Hanif, can you please join us? Okay. Please, people who are standing at the table over there are chit-chatting. If you please come over here, or you can take your conversation outside. Thank you. Can you join us? Yes. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us for another Plug and Play Persian Tech Network. Well, we don't have any presentations tonight, but we have a monthly meeting that includes speakers, fireside chat, and you are welcome to prepare your questions for our speakers. We have two speakers tonight, two key people in the industry, and their work is, both of them, they work in the areas related to AI, the hottest topic that we have over here. And tonight you will learn about the impact of AI in one of the biggest industries that we have here in the Valley or in the United States. And also we hear about the efforts of joining and collaborating and finding the effect of AI on healthcare. So both are very, very important topics. I trust that you would have some questions for our speakers that you would save till the end and we would ask them. And I would trust that while we are doing the interviews and fireside chat, please refrain from chit-chatting over there. If you want to have a conversation with a group of people, take it outside, okay? Have respect for the meeting and have respect for our speakers over here. Our first speaker tonight is a woman who has been rising through the ranks of the industry, and right now she is working at Amazon, and she is in charge of shaping how Amazon is using AI to do all the improvements that we are going to see in Amazon in the future. I would like to ask Ms. Tanya Rusta to come and join us on stage. Please help me welcome her. said if we hold this, this is going to work. Test? Okay, excellent. Ms. Rusa, welcome to our meeting. It's a pleasure to have you over here. Let's start by going, as usual, what we go through the background of people. You were born and raised in Iran, I assume.
Actually, I was born in U.S. and raised in Iran partially. So
You were born in U.S. and raised in Iran. How old were you when you were taken to Iran?
I guess I was 2.
2,
So
okay. And how long did you spend in Iran?
I actually got my diploma, took concours, got into Sharif, and then after 2-3 months, I was like, this is not working for me.
Sharif wasn't working for you,
No,
okay.
no, not that, but just the whole, the situation with the government
The
and
situation
everything,
with
and
the government and all that.
being a woman, it's
So you went
not
to
easy.
Sharif, that means you placed very high in the concours.
I did. I guess, I don't know.
Well, you guessed, so we're going to ask you about it. What's your concours ranking?
Either 55 or 56, I don't remember.
You don't remember either 55 or 56. Well, that's rich. That's
That was
good.
not the most important number to remember in my life. So.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We ask that in jest from people, and some people say, why do you characterize people with a ranking and concours? It says a lot about people, the way they answer the question. So in Sharif, you were doing what?
It was computer science.
It was
but
computer.
I only went for 3 months, and then I basically quit and came to U.S.
I beat you by that. I only went for 1 week.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So we have something in common over there. So what did you do when you came to the United States? Where did you go?
I actually started in a junior college, West Valley, quite local, because I was trying to, learn English, be comfortable,
Where was that junior college?
It's actually in Saratoga.
Oh, okay, over here. Local.
Yeah, local, quite local. And then I transferred to Berkeley, finished my bachelor there, and I stayed there, got another master in statistics and a PhD in electrical engineering.
Excellent. So let me introduce you to the audience a little bit. Most of these people have aspirations to start their own company and become rich. So they depend on you and your advice tonight as to how to navigate the. But for those people who are here with that aspiration or looking for a job, I have good news for you. Tanya's LinkedIn page says, I am hiring.
No. I was reposting somebody else who was hiring, but I can refer you if you like.
You can refer. Okay, my team, part of Amazon AGI Artificial General Intelligence, is hiring for applied scientists at all levels. Please reach out to me if you are interested. So you know who to see afterwards if you have a resume. Amazon AGI, you're working there right now.
I actually, as of a couple of months ago, I moved to the shopping, which
Okay.
is the core
But
business. But before, so I've been at Amazon for close to 5 years. I started in Alexa, and Alexa is what turned into AGI, basically.
Okay.
So
When you say Alexa turned into AGI, Alexa is not using AGI right now at this moment, is it?
They actually do use some large language models.
Okay.
But
How large are we talking about?
I don't think I can give so much information, but I don't know if for people who have followed the news, basically sometime after ChatGPT, was introduced, Amazon felt like every other, big tech giant that they had to catch up.
Yes.
And so they decided
So whips
that
came out.
yes. And so Alexa, given it had a lot of basically conversational AI background, and people had worked on that, it was kind of a good fit. And they basically took all the science pieces from Alexa, and now it's called AGI. So
Okay.
that's
And
how
Alexa is the target of what you are working on, essentially.
It used to be. Now I'm actually working on the shopping infrastructure. So when you're trying to, buy something on Amazon, all of that infrastructure is basically sitting within bigger team that I'm in.
Okay, so let me get this right. You are creating an infrastructure that not only is going to be used for shopping, but Alexa is going to use it too.
Alexa doesn't use this one, no.
Okay.
It's completely
I'm having a
different.
lot of misses, so
Yeah,
I'm
no.
sure I'll get
No,
to
but I
that.
can answer questions about Alexa. I mean,
We are interested to know something that it is fundamental in the future of the industry and how we interact with it. So what can you tell us about Alexa and or shopping in Amazon? And
well,
then I'm going to ask you, who do you think is going to win? Is it going to be Amazon? Is it going to be OpenAI? Is it going to be Google? Is it going to be
I've never bet
Antronics?
on anything. So,
Okay.
so I would say the biggest issue I've seen across the board, whether it's Alexa, shopping, when it comes to using LLMs, is really the amount of resources they require. So you can't, just say I want to run a lot of experiments to see what works and what doesn't. You have to really think and kind of figure out what it is you want to do before you start, using all the resources. So that to me is, I would say, one of the biggest problems. And I've seen more and more articles where people are saying it's best to go with smaller models that are basically trained for a very specific task. So
Divide and conquer. You're
Right.
doing. When you say resources, you're talking about not only hardware that you're going to use, like NVIDIA hardware, but also energy that you're going to dispense in
all of that. yeah.
training and also using that.
Well, I mean, this is actually, it was interesting to me when I joined, but you would think that Alexa is part of Amazon, they wouldn't be paying, but they do actually pay AWS like everybody else. So
Well, it's internal internal account.
I don't know if it goes from this pocket to the other, that I can't say, but I'm just joking, I don't know. But I do know that that's a very big issue. You can't just, start training models and using the GPUs because the cost goes up and,
So that doesn't get into the picture, how much
it
electricity we're using?
does. Oh, the electricity, we are not following that, but it's like how much GPU are you using, and,
Okay.
the cost of that is.
Let me ask you a professional opinion about something that is happening outside Amazon. OpenAI, Google, Apple, Meta's Llama, Antronics, Reflection AI. Which one of these horses do you think you would bet on? Well, let me add something that Amazon has invested at the rate of $7 billion in Antronics. So
Yeah, Anthropic. I mean,
Anthropics, yes.
yeah. Well, I think
So that should
came-
be the good indication, right?
I honestly don't know. I mean, what are we betting on? Like, what is the end goal you're saying? To me, there's no, it's not a race to get to a certain thing. It's just that the technology is evolving, and I feel that every company is, to some extent, contributing to it. So.
Well, every company is contributing to it, but not, Amazon hasn't invested $7 billion in all other companies. Anthropics is a unique one.
Well,
in that.
they couldn't go with OpenAI, right? That was taken. So actually, I read that OpenAI had approached AWS for partnership, and
Didn't work.
Amazon said, no, thank you. We don't want to give you free resources. So
Oh, I see, I
Yeah.
see. What do you think of Apple? What are they doing?
I don't know much. They're very secretive, but one thing I was actually reading today, because there is the new Chat GP, whatever that OpenAI put out that does kind of audio to audio. I was reading this little article that people were suggesting whoever can partner with Apple to use this new model as part of the, voice assistants on Apple, that's like a big win. So, and it wouldn't
Just
be
because the
Alexa.
name Apple is behind it. But
Well,
you know,
because everybody uses Apple, and
they have the
it's-
capability of
they have
gathering
yeah.
a lot of data. from people, example. Um, Large language model capabilities are linked to their costs, which is data, training, hardware, and energy. Current models are about $100 million, the current models we have. And the goal seems to be $100 billion, 1,000 times, in a short matter of a couple of years. What are the implications of this significant computational resources and energy consumption that is going to be spent to get this goal fulfilled, in your opinion?
To me, it's really the environmental impact more than anything. And I know, being in high tech, maybe you don't care as much about that, but I think we should, because it's not just a tiny amount of impact we are talking about here.
We're warming the planet up, yes. So you're worried because you have small children?
No, even for myself.
Okay. Areas of AI that is going to be concentrated on for Amazon, what are those?
Well, actually, about a couple of months ago, I don't know if some of you already have the beta version, they released Rufus if you're shopping on your phone. And it's kind of a conversational agent to help you with your shopping needs. So that's a big area of focus, and trying to refine that and make it a much better assistant.
And when you say much better as consumers, what should we expect, or what should we avoid?
I don't think you should be worried about anything, but I would say just with any other LLM, you never know if it's hallucinating or not. So that, I would say, as a consumer, is probably something you want to be aware of.
There was this cartoon in New Yorker that it said Amazon has a new plan. Every week they send you randomly, and you can keep it, or else you can send it back. Could that be fulfilled? If the machine comes back and says, well, this is a way to enhance the sales, would you go for it?
I'm not making those decisions.
Get a surprise. Okay, you're not making those decisions.
No.
What decisions are you making?
Well, I'm not sure.
Am I
much
making you
can
uncomfortable
divulge,
with these
sorry.
questions? I'm sorry.
No,
Just tell me if there is an area that you get very, very uncomfortable. We together we go through it. No, I'm kidding.
No, as you know,
there are secrets.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't call it secrets, but I would say what where me and my team are focusing is really trying to optimize a lot of these models that are in production, because as you add more and more features, you're adding more latency, and there's no free lunch, so you have to cut from somewhere else. So as you start adding, like to Rufus, you add more and more features, you need to take from another part or optimize another part. So
zero-sum game. Yeah.
basically, so that's where we are focusing to see what are different things you can do, whether it's just working with the algorithms, doing something with the data, like all different aspects that you can consider.
Excuse me, can you hold your microphone a little bit closer? Yeah. I'm sure
Sorry.
they can hear you, but this would be, yeah.
So that's where we are focusing right now.
In the plans to humanize Alexa, is there any plan to add humor to it?
She actually has quite a bit of humor.
It does?
Yeah.
How do you inject that to it? How do you plan for it?
It's, I think they have some, existing basically scripts, and it just, depending on the context.
Can you give me an example on that?
Yeah, my daughter was asking Alexa, what is 2 times 2? And she said 4. What do you think about? Do you think I'm not smart?
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the effects of those humor injected into those conversations?
I guess it depends on the person. I enjoy it. It makes it more, more like a human than just answering questions.
What other things are you doing to add humanity to the voices that comes through the machine?
about humanity, but there's a lot about just being able to follow through the conversation with that voice assistant, because it's not, especially with Alexa and the devices, it's not as easy to keep track of all the, because you want to make recommendations to the user, but you also need to keep track of the dialogue history.
Previous conversation.
Yeah. So that's basically where most of the effort is.
I'm trying to see how my experience as a consumer will improve, besides humor, besides referring to the previous things that I have said. Is there any efficiency in the system that you can increase to increase my satisfaction? Is there a goal defined like that we can do?
Well, I would say even with the conversations with LLMs, I think they are much better at kind of answering at each turn. So that would be, to me, that is the gain to the customer. Because every time, you're basically interacting with LLM, and they're much better at being able to, follow this conversation and come up with good answers and kind of steer the conversation in a certain direction. So,
is there any plan to get into educational areas with the capabilities that you already have in Alexa and with the LLMs? In other words, if your daughter asks 2 times 2 is 4, is that a clue that Alexa could say, well, do you need help with your homework? I can help you with that.
They even have some of those, not necessarily help with homework. I don't think parents would be too happy with that, but
well, as a tutor, that everybody would be happy with having a tutor in your pocket.
Free tutor.
Yeah. Well, it's not a free lunch. How about health areas? Is Alexa going to venture into detecting whether or not, I'm coughing when I am talking to her, I guess?
Yeah, so her.
And she can recommend something like cough syrups. I can send you a cough syrup right away in the mail.
You can, but what I like to point out is people are also very worried about having Alexa in their homes in general, because they feel that their conversations are being sent back and everybody can listen to it. So I personally think it's a fine line. You want to help the customer, but you want to keep their trust, and you don't want to make them too uncomfortable. So if she becomes too smart for you and you feel that she knows everything, then
so you have
it's
to
a little
so you have to program dumbness into Alexa so people don't feel threatened.
My point is that, a lot of these things, either the customer should opt in so that, when it happens, they're not startled, or you don't want to have it there without the customer being aware of what's happening. That's my point. So.
But if you fast forward 10 years in the future, this is going to be a moot point. The computers will know everything about us, and they will...
I think they already know quite a bit, so I don't think you need to go 10 years in the future, but it's also a matter of perception, right? I'm not saying this is fact. I'm saying it's a matter of people's perception about Alexa. So if you make her too smart and too useful, people might think that, their privacy is getting invaded in their house.
True, but eventually people will have to get used to this. And the companies that are at the forefront of making people comfortable with what they know about them, they would win. So you can't just lag behind pretending that.
I'm not saying Alexa is lagging behind. I'm just saying it's, you kind of have to be careful when you start adding these features.
Okay.
Having the disclaimer, making sure, for example, they opt in, or all sorts of things.
One other area that I would like to touch on before we go to the questions in the audience is integration with your third-party services and APIs. Are you working on that to open Amazon systems, AI systems, or assistants to general companies that can plug into their API and do something with them?
That is actually, I think, a big at least from my understanding, that is actually a big part of what AGI is trying to do right now, having basically these modularized APIs that you can kind of plug and play with for virtual assistants.
And that's it is being designed into the system that you're working on.
It's, yes.
So that's the appropriate question that I can ask next. What do you suggest? What do you advise people who are sitting in this room and are aspiring to have a piece of action in the future? What kind of a technology should they go for, or what kind of a education should they strive for in order to be able to do something that, for example, Amazon can link into? What should they study? What should they learn?
Well, a lot. I mean, are you asking if they should, really get into the nitty-gritty of LLMs, or because
I don't know. You're the expert in the field. You can tell
well,
me.
I'm not expert in everything.
Well, what are you
so,
expert
for
at?
example, to me, one of the biggest applications is healthcare,
Yes.
and I'm sure next speaker can,
Mr. Bayati
give,
will expound on it. Yes.
But if my personal opinion, I think that's where people should focus. It's a harder one to win over just because of patient privacy and all those things. So I would say, getting kind of educated about all the issues that healthcare has. Like there's insurance, there is, in the hospitals, there are so many different components. So you can kind of just look at that system and pick one that you think you can come up with a solution for, and then go from there.
So in general, you're saying something about healthcare that would be capable of being plugged into other systems like Amazon to be able to. Okay. We have a few minutes for maybe 2 to 3 questions. And if people raise their hands, do we have a microphone? Or I can use this microphone. Hold on, that gentleman over there. Oh, let me use this one for now.
Sure. It's on. Hi, my name is Saeed Karimovadi, and I'm engineering manager with Amazon AWS Hardware Engineering. And I just want to add 2 kind of short topics to what.
Questions only.
Only questions?
Only questions.
Okay.
Otherwise, we will invite you to come over here and add your stuff.
Sure. No, that was not a question.
Somebody else raised their hand. That's okay. Thank you. Gentleman over there.
Thank you. I'm Amin Farhang. I'm an intern at Mind the Bridge as an innovation advisor. My question was, we know one of the cornerstones of the success of Amazon was using LLMs, using machine learning. But I want to know how different the organization was, or the organizational structure before and after January 2024, after GPTs were out, and now everybody's talking about AI and LLMs, because you were basically, AI was a thing before that, and especially it was something special for Amazon, but everything changed after the rise of AI. I really want to know what has changed in the company, in the organizational structure, how roles are different, and how's the vision is different.
It's actually interesting you're asking that question, because we did, within Alexa, actually have a very similar technology to ChatGPT. But at the time, before 8 months before ChatGPT was released, people were like, well, we don't really need to focus so much and spend resources on this. There are other things we need to get to, so that kind of was put on the back burner. And yes, ChatGPT comes out, and they're like, oh shoot, now we need to catch up. So in response to that, I mean, as I said, Alexa was split. Now there's AGI. There's a lot of effort. Even on the AWS side, I'm sure you can probably even add a lot more there. But they're constantly adding more and more, LLMs there, making it easy for people to use. So it has changed quite a bit. But to some extent is more a reaction instead of like taking a step back and saying what is our eventual goal. So, and I think that's happening across the board. It's not just Amazon. So.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Last question with the gentleman over there.
Salam Khan Doctor. Thank you so much for all you're sharing with us today. I'm really enjoying it. My question is
Please state your name and
Sure.
your affiliation first.
Yeah. My name is Ryan, and I'm a project engineer. I work in the construction industry here in the Bay Area. My question is circled around trust. So what is the golden recipe, or at least success tactic you found in earning and maintaining consumer trust in a lot of this novel AI that we're seeing? Or is this really irrelevant because we might be using AI and we don't even know what's under the hood? So I guess my question is, do you see this even being an important topic as we're getting more advanced? And what is the approach that is getting success in this area?
I think trust is to some extent an issue because at the end of the day, you want the consumers to use your products, right? And if they don't trust you, that's an issue. But at the same time, as you said, it just takes time. People need to get used to it slowly over time. But one thing that I think Amazon does well is that they are very, very strict about the data, the customer data, and who can even access it. Like it's really difficult to even like get that data, even if you want to train a model, for example. So that they do a good job of. And as I said, like they're pretty good about kind of informing the customer of what they're doing, and most of the features are opt-in instead of just turning it on and saying, oh, as you said, under the hood, things are working. So usually, there is more of go to the app and turn on. So that's how they try to keep that trust, I would say.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tanya Rusta. Thank you very much for spending the time to come over here on behalf of Plug and Play, Persian Tech Network, the Amidi Foundation, the Amidi Group, and the Iranian community. I thank you for spending the time
Before
with
I
us.
go, I have a question for you. So who would you bet on?
Well, I would probably bet on the moral compass that Anthropics people have put forward. Yeah.
Okay.
They're more aware of the dangers of AI than Sam Altman is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So
You can go this way. Now for a perspective from the academic era. We're having a Stanford professor who is working on aspects of AI that has to do with healthcare, and you would have an opportunity to ask your questions about that area. Mr. Mohsen Bayati will join us on. Please help me welcome Mr. Mohsen Bayati. خیلی خوش آمدید. میکروفون شما. Mr. Bayati, thank you very much for spending the time with us. You were born in Iran.
Yes.
And you were born in Isfahan, I
Yes.
imagine. And you went to high school there. Which high school did you go there?
I think Shahid Ajei.
You think, okay. This is one
Because
of
I
those.
don't know if it's changed the name, but yeah.
Okay, this is one of those Tis Hushan, one of those smart kids school, right?
Yes,
Yes.
but I mean, I don't think there is much difference, but yes.
Okay, you're very humble, and we appreciate that. A part of the activities that you did over there led you to participate in the Olympiads.
That's correct.
And what happened over there?
So we got to hang out with Dr. Tabesh,
Yeah,
and that was the best
That's
part.
how I know. Yes.
And the rest is, we got to work on problem solving.
What
So it's
did
a
you
lot of
achieve
fun.
in the Olympiads?
Our team did a good job that year. We got 4 gold and 2 silver. So that was the first year after many years. Like I think our rank was 3. That was the best rank we got. After us, some other teams won first rank too. So it was fun.
And you were one of those people who got gold.
Yes.
And how did that shape your future after that? How participating in Olympiad shape your thinking about what you want to do in the future? That was Olympiad of math, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that probably made you go into math, right?
Yes, it did have that. I would say that was one impact that I really liked solving math problems, and I decided to pursue that for academic career. But I think the best part of it really was like the network of people that I got to know. And like all day we could call like Olympiadi folks, and as well as our mentors. So that was really the best part.
Excellent. You went to Sharif,
Yes.
so it's only fair to ask you the ranking of your concours.
So one of the blessings of the first piece was I didn't get to,
You didn't have to go through
I
a
didn't
concours
have to
when
go
you
through.
got the gold
Yes.
medal.
So yeah, we escaped the high school, and I remember so we would have to take the diploma, but we still had to do that.
Yes.
So
Yes. You
without
had to
going
finish high school, but you didn't have
Yeah,
to do the
so you should
entrance.
ask any Olympiadi what was your concours GPA, like your diploma GPA, right?
Okay,
So
what was your diploma?
I don't know,
GPA?
like something like 12, 13, like something pretty low, because we would have
You
to
lead
study.
us to a place and you do duck. Okay, that's good.
Exactly.
And then after your BS, you came to Stanford.
Yes.
And what did you do at Stanford?
So I came here, continued the math, journey. Decided, entered the math department here to do my PhD, and you come to Stanford to do math, and then all the other Iranians are in the EE department.
Yes.
And so all the gatherings, they talk about what they do, and then there's no way I can even explain what I'm working on. So
Was that intimidating, or was the silo that you had around what you did comforting?
it was both.
It was
So at some point I realized, you know what, I don't have to continue this. They also are working on math problems. It was math, it was just different math. So I decided to transfer to electrical engineering.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did, even though, I finished my degree in EE, but still I don't know a lot of EE, electrical engineering. But it was the math part of it that I continued.
It intrigued you. So you got your EE PhD from Stanford, working with who?
With 2 professors. One of them was actually here a few months ago, Amin Saberi. He was one of my co-advisors, and the other one was Professor Prabhakar, Balaji Prabhakar.
And what did you work on for your PhD thesis, for PhD work?
So my PhD thesis was pretty much mathy, I would say. I was trying to generate, that was the time of, social networks and Facebook emerging. So we were trying to generate network data that look realistic, but we were able to generate many of them, so we can sample and just analyze data related to networks. So formally, we had to generate random graphs with given degrees. And this is what we call an NP-hard problem. So that gave me a PhD.
So you created your own sample problems. Is this working? Yeah. You created your own sample problems by creating random graphs, and then you...
So we would generate random instances of Facebook, but thousands of it. And then you would you basically create data. So
Right,
then,
right.
because
But
there's
random
only one
data.
Facebook, right? So if you want to see a phenomena in Facebook happen by chance, or it's actually like something else to it, so you would have to create versions of Facebook and then see does that same phenomena happen in the other versions or not.
And that wasn't your last pivot. You again pivoted and you went, and you right now you are not in a math department or
No.
the double E department. You're a
Yes.
professor in.
Right. So I went to Microsoft after PhD.
Mhm.
They had a research lab, and it was pretty much a theory group. Still everybody was working on math. And at that time, I thought of let's just do something more applied, just to test it, how that is. And that was when I entered. Like I tried to learn about machine learning. It was around 2007, 2008. It was pretty exciting time. Like I remember there was this like Netflix competition those days for a lot of folks in academia to to predict users' interest in movies. And then inside Microsoft there was another version internally, and for a different question. And that got us excited, and we looked at that problem. And that was my first experience of encountering machine learning. And I realized. First, we thought like it was a group of 4 of us, all of us math people without any background in machine learning and statistics, and we thought this is going to be easy. We spent a month, and then we were beaten badly. But then that was the time that I realized.
What do you mean you were beaten badly? What
internally in the
happened?
Microsoft.
I see. There were other teams who did
Other
better.
teams
Yes.
that did
Okay.
a lot better, and that was the time that we realized. I actually realized this thing can be hard, and it's actually the math behind it is pretty interesting. So that was the pivot. So I decided to continue theory of high-dimensional statistics and machine learning. But then another interesting thing that did happen was this is actually like by current standards, like it was like the best thing that happened those days. Like suddenly I got access to 7 hospitals' data sets, which is something that like right now it's very hard to get because
Real
of all the
data
privacy.
now.
Real data.
Not randomly generated.
Exactly,
Yes.
real data. And the reason was Microsoft wanted to enter the healthcare space, and they bought a startup in DC that was managing 7 hospitals' data. So suddenly you have access to that, and we said, okay, I want to learn machine learning. This looks interesting. Let's apply machine learning to healthcare. And that seemed like a very fun and let's just say intellectually rewarding area. And I pretty much continued afterwards that domain, which is machine learning, algorithms, their theoretical analysis and application in the healthcare. And that led me to the business school as well, because.
So how did that lead you to business school? What made you say, I don't want to work in the industry, I want to go and teach?
So at Microsoft Research, it's almost like a university, Microsoft Research. You just don't teach. But at the same time, it is not like academia. At the end of the day, in academia, you really have the freedom of what problem to work on. So I kind of missed that part. Not to the sense that, I mean, we had quite a bit of freedom, I must say. But I just, like for a long career, I knew that, I would have to be restricting myself. So I decided to come back to Stanford, do another postdoc, to also learn more about the statistics part, because Stanford has actually, like I would say, #1 stat department in the world. And I was regretting that I didn't take a single class when I was doing my PhD.
In stats.
In stats.
Yeah.
So I came back and I was working with someone in the stat in Double E, and that was during that time I realized the applied healthcare research that I'm doing is also of interest to folks in the business school. So that's how I transitioned to the business school.
Did you
after my
approach
postdoc.
them, or did they ask
I
you?
approached them. I mean, when you apply for academic jobs, you just send applications all over the place. So.
And how long have you been teaching at Stanford Business School?
About 13 years now.
13 years. Oh, okay. So you're a veteran over there.
We have folks who are there for 40 years, but yes.
Do you think you will pivot again and start a company and go out of Stanford, or do you think you're going to become emeritus over there?
I don't think there will be it's hard to predict. There are academicians who leave their
Especially
job.
the future, yeah.
Especially the future. And this AI that you talked about, that's a big disruption to half of my life, which is teaching. We have a very difficult time really realizing what to teach, how to teach. So you know, you never know. Maybe 2 years from now, I would have to look for another job. So
because teaching is going to be
AI
taken
will
over
teach
by
you.
everybody will have a teacher in their
I mean,
pocket. Yeah.
that's an area that, you know, is ripe for innovation. But overall, you never know. You cannot predict the future. But to answer your question, it's a intellectually rewarding kind of experience. What things that can change in like someone's life, like in academia, is like the research areas that you focus on may just pivot sometimes dramatically. And again, AI is creating new areas of research, and that could be causing a new change. And sometimes you really need to move to industry to collaborate with industry just to get to know real questions. Something that I do, like actually, like
With Amazon.
I do some work with
Yeah.
Amazon. Yes.
Yeah. They say there are two big things that is going to happen with AI. It's going to be a teacher in your pocket, and it's going to be a doctor in your pocket. And you're working more in the area of the doctors in your pocket, healthcare and AI. What is your precognition?
I can tell you the other half I do a lot too, but I'm a user.
You're of course,
Yeah.
we are all users.
We are all users.
Yes. Okay, so in the area of healthcare and AI, what are we in store to see as far as your crystal ball, which is a lot shinier and clearer than mine, can tell? What should we expect?
It's, you know, I would still, it's a very hard question to answer because of the following. The healthcare space, there are problems, but solving them is not a technological challenge. It's not like we couldn't solve these with the, let's just say 10 years ago AI. Like the problems that exist, a lot of them are business model problems or organizational challenges, incentives. So some of those haven't changed. So we will
Give us an example. So
the example, like, you know, many hospitals in the US are paid for what they do. We call fee for service. You know, you go to a doctor, they do 2 procedures, they get paid for 2 procedures. So if they do 3, they get paid more. So now if you go to a hospital that is on that system and you tell them, hey, I want to use AI to make you more efficient, to save, they're like, why would I want to save? Like, I mean, they never tell you that, but I'm just trying. The incentive is not there. 100%. Now there's like we call value-based delivery, which is slowly picking up, which is we pay you based on how much you improve a patient's care. So those changes are required to really see massive changes in the healthcare and AI. But there are areas that you could see big changes, like for example, at Amazon, I was working with their pharmacy group. You know, you have a for-profit entity, and that they have all the incentives to use AI and to deliver better care. Or, you know, Kaiser is another example. You know, it's a hospital or healthcare provider, but they're also an insurance company. They pay for it themselves. So they're innovating a lot in the healthcare area. So we see some areas that there could be big innovations, but those fundamental business model and incentive challenges haven't really changed. And before they change, it's going to be a lot slower than other industries.
I've heard in some places in China, doctors get paid for the number of days their patients are well. So as soon as somebody gets sick, they stop paying their doctors. Do you think this kind of incentive has a way to get programmed, coded into our systems over here?
That is this value-based delivery, that they are being coding, like Obamacare started introducing it, but it's very slowly being adopted. So it's very slow, small incentives, I would say.
Okay, your focus area is healthcare and AI, cancer prediction, and AI alignment. So what is AI alignment? Can you explain that to us?
So, I mean, from high level, it's just when AI is just doing something that you don't expect from its purpose. So from in the healthcare space, if you have an AI assistant for a clinician, if it makes a mistake, you can call it misaligned. But there isn't this problem.
Who's the judge to say that maybe that mistake is actually a better logic?
That's actually the point you just raised is one of the fundamental questions that anytime this discussion comes up, which is like sometimes we tell like for example, they would say, oh, what if AI is right, the doctor was wrong?
Yeah.
How would you be able to tell? But there are some things that are very much, very solid, very solid knowledge, medical knowledge that has been validated. And when you train an AI on data, surprisingly, it does well on all the benchmarks, but then it makes very silly mistakes regarding to that solid knowledge.
Hallucination.
Hallucination is a perfect one, yes.
So this interpretability or explainability of the decisions that that AI makes, it's still a black art.
Yes.
Are we making inroads in that? Because you have to solve that problem before people can let go and let machines take over.
I used to think that way, but I started changing my way of thinking about it. Maybe it's wrong, but in a sense that yes, there's a lot of good research done on interpretable AI, like how this AI makes better decision. By AI, I mean like machine learning algorithms, but it has been much slower. The adoption of those techniques compared to the way AI just being advancing at a rapid pace and better versions of it coming out. So another way to think about it is, what if it's a black box? There is no way for us to understand how the box works, but what you get to operate with is the input and output of this box. If you can, and that's how actually one of the leaps in this AI alignment happened, as everybody now probably knows, like this RLHF approach they didn't try to understand how the GPT-3 working. All they did were just like, let's just give it output examples and then, or look at its output examples and just tell it, this is a good one, that's a bad one, like use the feedback mechanism. So
reinforced training, essentially.
Right, so the way, now you point about like what makes people let go, it's all about, if people trust that this input and output system works in a reliable fashion, I think that's all it takes for adoption. A lot of people are now using ChatGPT into their workflow, even though it hallucinates, right? Because they have realized for certain tasks, they can still take the output, edit it, and then use it. So I think it's all about like people trusting the input and the output of the system.
So if I am doing a report or a slide set, it's all, it's all practical for me to detect. Well, this part is hallucinating, and this part I can modify myself. But models that can accurately predict cancer outcomes and progressions, given the complexity and heterogeneity of the disease across different patients and tumor types, these are not things that we can say, well, maybe a machine made a mistake in those. We have to have a reliable way of, having an alternate way to check that.
Yes.
How can we do that? Is there a parallel system that we need to develop, or do we need to, or are we hoping that the system that we're designing eventually converge to a non-hallucinating thing?
So it's all about, so there are different ways to answer this. One way is, it's an assistant, provides information to the doctor. Doctor is the ultimate decision maker. Like that's kind of a cliche response that you get to hear a lot of times from, some clinicians are happy with that. But the kind of with more generative AI, one approach that has been working in some areas and in the healthcare space, I think that would be a promising one, is to combine it with the solid knowledge that we talked about. If you are using it for cancer prediction, you can inject, so you can actually ask, like this is, a lot of folks probably know, like, you ask an AI 3 questions, let's just say, and you know the answer to 2 of them. If it correctly answers the 2, then you would trust the 3rd question's answer a lot more, right? So it's kind of a interesting way of thinking about it. This is like the consistency approach that is applied in generative AI. So now you can use the existing clinical knowledge
to validate that.
Without telling the AI that I have that knowledge, to validate the rest of it. That's been something that has proven to be successful in some of the incremental advances that we've seen.
Before I open it for people coming from the audience, could you tell us what areas do you think are ripe for people or are interesting for people to get into in order to ride the wave of AI and medicine or AI and healthcare in the near future? What should they study? What should they do?
Hard question. On one hand, I think it's good to get to know a little bit more about how these systems work. You know, it's very hard to really open the box, but it's good to understand a little bit what is deep learning algorithm, and how are these trained, just a little bit. But the more important part is this is a rapidly moving space. So it's staying current on the latest development is, I think right now is important time to be. But being more agile, because things change. You know, a month ago, Claude 3 was the best model. Now this new ChatGPT 4.0 came out. You know, things just change very quickly. So what's the right stable setting? Although the good news is like switching costs are pretty low. You know, you're the same code, you just apply it to different models. Like there's just small API updates, but the rest of the code is the same. But kind of other than staying current and understanding how these systems work, I think really the most important part is to think about questions rather than the tech. The biggest mistake a lot of times happens when a new technology comes in is like technology enthusiasts or tech experts like want to solve every problem with that. I think
solution looking for a problem.
Exactly, right? It's like one shouldn't fall in love with the tech and fall in love with the problem. You know, sometimes like you want to see what business questions you want to address. And, you know, at this point, folks can try to do an assessment, you know, which areas seems to be ripe. You know, everybody talks about healthcare. Okay, so now that's one step. Now I want to work on healthcare, but then let's just see what is the hard question that seems to be amenable. But then at that point, I would just try to focus on the problem more. And then from there, I would pick up the technology needed to solve that problem. I don't need to know the rest of the AI. So it's like being problem focused rather than, it's like a, this is nothing new. This is like a, and then the other piece would be in healthcare, specific to healthcare, what I learned is that the AI solutions, it's very different than, you have to closely work with the user. Who is the user is a clinician. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult, you know, for me to be like a company. I say, I build a product, I go, let's just do customer validation. Like that's too late. I have to have the
traditional way of.
The traditional way is different. Like I have to have the customer validation, like as I am building it, like in a very continuous fashion. So where this is possible, like I gave you an example of Amazon. Like I was working with pharmacists that are part of Amazon. So I get to like, you know, it's like the same team. You're under the same roof. And it's important because the incentives are aligned. So the same way, you know, if you pick a telemedicine company, you know, maybe go work with them. Or so rather than trying to build something and then go sell it out to clinicians, I think that's a lot harder. That's something that I learned.
Very good. I have a lot more questions, but I would like to give a chance for people in the audience to ask questions. So I already see 4 hands raised. Ahmed Azzajan, can we start with this gentleman over here in yellow short sleeve? And again, please state your name and your affiliation before asking your questions.
Yes, thanks for attending and your speech. I'm Mahmoud Lahrudi, a new entrepreneur in digital twins industry. My question is about mathematical complexity of AI models. As a mathematician, could you explain how difficult is to understand AI models, especially when we consider that as a high-dimensional space?
The short answer I can give is our understanding is very minimum compared to the state of these models. There's a large community of theory of deep learning, theory of machine learning that is working to understand, but we understand very limited. Things that we know is that what is called over-parameterization is very important. Like it allows you to, like at least there's, in some very stylized settings, it has been shown that by making these, the number of parameters like a lot of people will say, well, duh, that's obvious, but now mathematicians can actually prove that by increasing the number of parameters, you can learn more complex functions. But then at the same time, you also, I would say the more surprising part is that the size of the data actually is important. Like more data, more samples allow you to learn more complex patterns. This wasn't the case with the under-parameterized settings. You know, as long as you had your data past a certain limit, you would be done in terms of like learning the. But at the end of the day, like this is just things that people have observed 10 years ago, like that now mathematicians can say something about.
Thank you. General over there.
Hello, thank you for coming. My name is Diego, and I was an ex-software engineer at Amazon. And my question is, I'd like to push a little bit on Said's last question, which is, I understand that it's a very good idea to start on a problem and build a product based on that. But for someone who do not have the opportunity to do startups right now, and I want to keep learning on AI and possibly work for AI and practice my AI skills. So what good advice do you have? Do you think I should, what areas should I focus on? And should I go on Gen AI? Maybe in 5 years, maybe I can pivot to startups. What advice do you have?
So I think going back to the first part, I mean, the best learning is learned by doing, and it kind of limits and allows you to focus. So I would say still try to pick a project in any form and try to work towards solving that project and pick up what you need to learn along the way for that. But in terms of, I think the AI alignment, as a researcher, I find it exciting because I think it's very hard. We are far from solving it. So there are startups work on this space. Big companies are working on this space. So that's an interesting area. Like hallucinations of these AI models is the same as AI, part of the AI alignment. So solving those problems, I think for a long period of time, we're going to have to have answers for those. I don't think they're going to be solved overnight.
Hello. Thank you so much for the great speech. My name is Markham Musgar from March Health. We are working on non-invasive diagnosis of endometriosis. I have a specific question regarding the value-based care model that you talked earlier. How AI, machine learning, data science can be leveraged to improve the quality of implementation and outcome of different value-based care models in healthcare?
So value-based healthcare, the hard part there is to measure how much you improve the care of the patient. When the patient arrived, how sick they were, measuring how sick they were, and then how much we improved their health. So this concept of risk adjustment, as they call it. So AI can help you make that measurement more accurately, like adjusting the risk. And generative AI, I think one big benefit, especially in healthcare, is that it requires less data than kind of the traditional model. So, and healthcare is a space where it's very hard to get data, or very hard to have data in certain specialties. The moment you put 3 filters, like you only get 20 patients in a hospital, right? So then Gen AI can solve those problems still, because it sometimes needs few samples for certain problems, not every problem, of course. So that's another.
And the last question goes to the lady in black over there.
Hi, my name is Lale. I'm a clinical associate professor at UCLA. I'm a critical care physician. I wanted to congratulate you on your Nature Medicine paper published a few weeks ago, where you used a language model for Amazon online pharmacy operations. I think as a clinician, it's probably the most obvious application of language models is improving quality and safety. My question for you is, do you think it could have been done with an outside company, or do you feel when you're applying generative AI for operations, it must be internally grown?
Very good question. I think I found the first route a lot easier. But I mean, that cannot be the only way. So actually one has to figure out, we have to innovate what are best ways of doing the latter. Like BCG, there was an article that BCG expects next year 20% of their revenue comes from helping companies incorporate AI into their existing workflows. Like, if you ask me, like, why would it be BCG, right? This is, there should be better, like I would say, like more startups like helping them. So it's something that has, I think it's a pain itself. So that means it's an opportunity for innovation, finding out how we can help non-AI companies, like non-AI born companies, integrate AI into their workflow. So I'm really not answering your question. I'm just saying this is a problem that needs to be solved. So I would go after the former route as much as possible if needed, which is homegrown approach. The bar is a lot lower, you know, like to build the first version of a product, you really don't need a lot of technical expertise. But one big change that has happened is building an AI product is quite easy, but fine-tuning it, fixing the bugs, they're not bugs, like these are hallucinations, that requires more effort after the deployment. So that for that part, maybe you would need like kind of the external help. But if you're willing, like in low-risk areas, pick a low-risk area, internally build a product, and then depending on how it, like where you need to fine-tune it, then bring the external help. That would be one way.
Thank you very much, Professor Mohsen Bayati. Our speakers will be available after this session for a few minutes for you to ask further up questions. And before you go, I am tasked to encourage everyone to attend Humayun Shajarian's concert this Sunday. Don't ask me why. Rahim is a big fan of Humayun, and he wants you all to be there. But on behalf of the Amidi Group, the Iranian community, the Persian Tech Network, and Plug and Play, I would like to thank you for spending the time with us and answering our questions.
Thank you for having us.
خیلی ممنون.